All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back. So we're going to talk about Dana White and the press conference that he just gave, where he spoke about what's going to happen, whether he's going to face any repercussions, and also just his thinking on this entire thing, on what people are saying about him, etc. Because candidly, I was very impressed by this, like impressed enough that I know. Spoiler, right? If you're a YouTube creator and you do back-to-back videos about the same topic, you get terrible views, terrible. And I'm going to do this video anyway, because sometimes there are topics that give you the opportunity to talk about like important things. And I think that this, my last one about Dana, I'm making fun of the California Women's Caucus. That's not a serious video, right? The video is not serious at all. It's like, oh, these women are demanding that he gets his job taken away. And I'm saying there is no possible way that's going to happen. So I'm just going to tease them. Okay. This is something different. Like this is a person who's facing a tremendous amount of backlash, who's ashamed of something that he did. And he just handled it in a way that I thought was extraordinarily strong. And I'm not saying that because I'm not like sucking up to Dana. Like I genuinely was incredibly impressed by how he handled this. And also, I think that it applies to a lot of people who end up facing situations like this, in the press, especially right now with how cancel culture is. It's like, this is a perfect example of how to handle this without exacerbating a problem while taking ownership, right? And the difference between that and what happens normally when people get canceled. Now, anyway, it's going to be a good video, right? So before I get into it, if you watch this channel, you probably heard me say this before. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. That's the deal that we make. Handshake. Subscribe to the channel. You can have access to all of my videos. Please don't watch the videos without subscribing. Is basically what I'm saying. It's like it's a gentleman's agreement. I work really hard. I create all the content. There's no money. I'm not charging anyone. I don't even have memberships. But if you're going to watch my stuff, please subscribe. It tells the algorithm to suggest me to other people. It makes a really big difference. So please. We're handshaking. Don't be the one that takes the candy and doesn't put the quarter into the jar. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to watch this right now, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit, and we'll go from there. Boom.
So I just wanted to come out today and talk to you guys on this media day with the athletes that, the focus is on them. These guys have trained hard and got ready for this fight. What happened on New Year's Eve is my mistake, not theirs.
It's a great sweater, by the way.
And obviously, nobody's more about free speech than me. If one of the fighters wants to come out and voice their opinion on it and whatever it might be, then by all means. I'm sure you guys have seen the TMZ video and seen my interview. It was obviously a horrible personal experience, and there's no excuses for it. Something that I'm gonna have to deal with and live with for the rest of my life.
So right out of the gate, he's taking 100% ownership. By the way, I didn't know that he did a TMZ interview. I haven't watched it, but I don't think there's a lot that I'm going to be able to pull from any other interview that I'm not getting from this one, right? So he's taking complete and total ownership. He's saying that he's going to have to live with this for his entire life. And then the thing that I think was the most impactful on the front side is coming in a second. But don't mistake this either, because he also throws a warning to people like that is directly in line with exactly what I said on the channel the other day. Not why I'm doing the video, but it is something notable, because if I say something and then it's completely validated, I'm going to point it out. But here you go. So continuing.
And one thing that I do want to clarify in this thing that I didn't talk about on TMZ because I didn't expect it and I didn't see it coming is the people that are defending me. There's never an excuse. I'm sure you guys have read some of the same stuff that I've seen. There's no defense for this, and people should not be defending me over this thing, no matter what.
So I'm just going to stop there, because I think that's literally like the strongest part of this. And it's like, listen, he's a public figure. He's getting hammered, right? And this is a person who's wired for combat. And what I mean by that is he goes on Twitter and randomly sees some person that's run their mouth, and he'll light them up sometimes. He doesn't like people running their mouth about him, right? And when the whole world is running their mouth about him, he is literally telling the people who are defending him not to defend him, because he's saying the entire thing violates his values. Like he's completely owning it, and he's owning it in a way that to me comes off genuine, right? Like if it was like, and honestly, that's the difference to me that I'll talk about now and then throughout the rest of the video, is like normally when you have this cancel culture nonsense, right? Someone does or says something and they get hammered online and they give this half-assed idiotic, apology that, they don't mean. They don't mean it, because they wouldn't have done the thing if they were that sorry about it. It's like, dude, you said a thing, you meant that thing, right? Like you said this thing, you meant that. Why are you apologizing? You know what I mean? It's like, what's his name? AC Slater, or oh my God, Mario Lopez. Mario Lopez gets asked something about when it's okay for kids to transition. And he says something like, I think this whole thing of like 4-year-olds transitioning, it seems like they're a little bit young. And then somehow a week from then, he's giving a full-throated apology for saying that. And you're like, and that's the kind of thing that makes you want to just vomit in your mouth. You're like, dude, why are you apologizing for that? You don't mean the apology. Of course you meant the other thing, because everybody thinks that. Why are you apologizing? And it's like, so you could tell when a person is apologizing because they have the masses coming after them. And in this case, he's got the masses coming after him. And listen, bottom line, there is a halfway coherent defense, not like defending what he did, obviously, because you have to, again, I've said this a million times, I will say it again, you have to have a red line when it comes to men hitting women, period. Like there can't be any wiggle room on it. You have to. Okay. You just have to say it's never okay. It can't be okay. It can never happen. Right. That said, in this current situation, there certainly is a coherent argument for don't lump him in with blah, blah, blah. Right. And he's like, don't do that. He's like, just don't do it. Don't defend me. And I think that comes off really well. I think it's an excellent strategy. I think it's genuine. And, it's the exact opposite of how it feels to watch a person apologize when they don't mean it.
All the criticism that I have received this week is 100% warranted and will receive in the future. So, and you know me better than anybody. If, especially the people that I don't like start coming after me, nobody fires back more than I do. Whatever anybody has to say, everybody has an opinion on this, and they're right to have their own opinions. I was very opinionated on this too, and I still am.
So basically what he said right there, unless I am completely misunderstanding what he's saying, right, is what I said, which was, if you think that Dana's not paying attention to who's saying what about him right now, you're out of your mind. And if you think that he's not making a list of the people who are going over the top hard at him, right? Like if the people that are really ripping, if you think that he's not making a mental note of that, especially if he thinks that it's unwarranted, like what they're doing, like because he has to do this, right? He has to do this. He has to, for the same reason that I said, you have to have a red line in the sand. There can't be any wiggle room. What he did is wrong, because what he did is wrong, right? But if you think that there's no difference between someone saying like, look, like, it's a bad look, you should never put a hand on a woman, and fill in the blank with someone who's going, nuclear on him. Now, everyone except Ariel. Ariel can say whatever he wants about Dana, and Dana knows that, right? Like Dana is whatever he is, but he understands. He understands combat. He knows that him and Ariel are mortal enemies. He has made that very clear. And so, of course, he knows Ariel is going to go as hard as he wants on him. And there's nothing, because he should. Of course, Ariel should. Of course. If a person is trying to sabotage your career and then you get them in the box, you try to shoot them like a fish in a barrel. Of course. But nonetheless, other people, maybe you don't care if Dana has it out for you. But rest assured, if you go hard at him, he's going to have it out for you. He's not going to forget.
Crazy that I'm sitting here even having this conversation with you guys, but yeah. So my my reason for being here today is I just wanted you guys to focus on them and not me. Any questions?
I was going to ask you, taking questions. I guess the big question that everybody wants to know, like you said, no excuses, full apologies. And I like your statement there that it shouldn't be defended at all, but are there going to be any repercussions? People are saying, he's a big public figure. He's big, charged this big company. Nobody's really talking about it. Are there any repercussions planned from the company or self-imposed repercussions?
Yeah, well, what should the repercussions be? You tell me.
Great answer, Beer.
I take 30 days off. How does that hurt me? I told you guys when we were going through COVID could last 10 years. I could set it up.
This is a great answer, by the way. Not to step on it, but this is a great answer. And he's just like, anything that you do to me in terms of removing me from UFC, it hurts everyone except me, right? It would hurt him. Don't get me wrong. Let me actually, hang on. I'll let him go.
Out and you know what I mean? What would be the problem? It's much like COVID, actually. Me leaving hurts the company,
100%.
Hurts my employees, hurts the fighters.
Yep.
Doesn't hurt me. I could have left in 2016. You know what I mean?
$400 million.
I don't know. What's do I need to reflect? No, I don't need to reflect. The next morning when I woke up, you know what I mean? I've been against this. I've owned this. I'm telling you that I'm wrong. And, but listen, we've had plenty of discussions internally with Ari, ESPN. Nobody's happy. Nobody's happy about this,
And so the only part of my video that I did yesterday that was serious, that was kind of like halfway serious, was where I was talking about, who's really the boss? Who's really the boss? And I'll just reiterate that, not to take away from Dana's press conference, but just to really kind of lay out what the hierarchy and the org chart is in this situation. By the way, and what an org chart is just basically it's a visual that documents who's in what role and how they report to each other, right? So like in an organization, you would have the org chart would go Dana White, and then it would go boop, boop, and it would go like Hunter Campbell down here, Sean Shelby here, however they do that. And then you have a branch off to the people that report to them. And basically it looks like, it looks like a fantasy football bracket, but it's like who's in what role and who they report to, right? But so in a situation like in really complex deals like I used to work, before I went full-time doing content, son, I'm so glad I didn't get the vax, dude. And I got listen, getting fired was the best thing that could have ever happened. I had the biggest month I've ever had in December doing content by a factor of many, right? I made as much money in December as I did as a, enterprise software sales executive in a month where I was on target. Yes, that for the first time ever. Now anyway, it's neither here nor there. I don't even know how I got on that. I just wanted to say that out loud because I'm very grateful to you guys. Thank you guys so much. Seriously. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. I wake up every single day now so happy. As a matter of fact, you know what it is? I go to sleep happy. That is the thing. I go to sleep happy because I'm used to forever, going to sleep, looking at my calendar and seeing what meetings I have and when, and then having a pit in my stomach, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because I hated doing it. I hated it. I hated it more than anything. Right. But I did it because that's what you do, right? That's what you do. And now I'm still in the routine of I'm going to sleep and I look at my calendar and I remember, I'm like, oh yeah, my day tomorrow is making content. Yes. So thank you guys. Thank you. Thank the people who made the jab, scary enough that I didn't get it. Thank you to my company that terminated me, but mostly thank you to you guys. And thank you to the advertisers. Love everybody. Anywho, but in those deals that I used to work, if there was a multiple company org chart where the decision, all you're really doing if you make an org chart is you're trying to understand the decision process, right? So you go through who are the people that are going to be involved in the decision and how do they interact with each other? And so if you have multiple organizations where this company needs to get approval from this company, you have to map all that stuff out, you have to be very, very surgical. You have to be very surgical mapping it out and how the decision kind of, works. And in this case, Dana is the CEO of UFC. UFC is by far the most profitable part of Endeavor. If UFC starts to slide, if something happens to UFC, Endeavor struggles. Okay. Endeavor can't have UFC fall off. They can't. And so Dana is in a tremendous position of power. ESPN, same thing, right? ESPN has made this enormous investment into UFC, and they need these guys to hit the numbers, and they need Dana to help them hit the numbers. So while they could be unhappy about this whole thing, they're not going to reprimand him if they think that it's going to damage the UFC's ability to deliver. They're not going to reprimand Dana, nor do I think that they should. Anyway, that's a long blah, 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 but
neither am I. But it happened. And I have to deal with it. And what is my punishment? Here's my punishment. I got to walk around for however long I live. Is it 10.4 years or is it another 25 years? And I gotta, this is how I'm labeled now. My other punishment is that, you know, I'm sure a lot of people, whether it be media, fighters, friends, acquaintances who had respect for me might not have respect for me now. I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life that are way more of a punishment than what? I take a 30-day, 60-day absence. That's not a punishment to me. The punishment is that I did it, and now I have to deal with it. And more importantly, you guys know how I feel about other people's opinions of me, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Nobody, I know a lot of you. I don't know what you do when you go home. I don't know what you're into. Nobody knows you better than your kids do. Okay. The kids, my oldest is.
Just for the record, I have not seen this part. I turned it off after about like 3 minutes so I can come do this video. I haven't seen this. And that is true.
Is almost 22. So for 22 years, he's grown up in a house with me and my wife and the rest of our family. They hear and see everything. They know everything, so whatever perceptions people might have about you, nobody knows better than your kids. And as long as my kids know exactly who I am, they know exactly who their mother is. And that's what's important to us. This is a personal family matter.
Dude, hang on. I just got to pause that for a second because, man, I don't know, for whatever reason, I hadn't really thought about this. But like my adult kids, like 22 years old, like my oldest daughter saw a video of me hitting Gabrielle. Damn, damn. I mean, I've been pretty clear about where I sit on this, which is that you can't condone it. You can't allow it. You can't have any wiggle room on men hitting women. And then it's always like, but is this really that serious? Probably not in this case because of blah, blah, blah. But I really hadn't thought about it through that lens, and it doesn't change my opinion on it at all. Like, it's an unfortunate thing that you have to condone. Everybody has to publicly condone it. That's the way it has to be. But man, I hadn't really thought about it like that through Dana's situation where like your kids saw you hit their mom. That's heavy, dude. At least that would be super heavy for me. Like I'm in no position to say, I'm sure that he does it all the time. I mean, so, someone pointed out to me that apparently like in his mom's book, they said, she said that like that Dana's wife hits Dana all the time. So I guess the implications of that would be that this probably has happened before, but I'm in no position to say that, I have no idea if it's happened before. But what I can say is I highly doubt it's on video ever before. And just that is what it is. But again, knowing that my kids saw that, especially like older, dude, like where, 22-year-old, that's an adult, dude. That's a grown-up. When your kids are young, even if they saw something like that, if they're 12 years old, they give you have this ability to say things and they kind of look at you and you could see that you're like really shaping their opinions on things, right? Where when your kid's 22, a 22-year-old, you start looking awful person, like you start looking like a regular person to them, where if you try to convince them that this thing that you did is blah, blah, like that's just not going to work, man. Like you're not going to convince a 22-year-old that this was anything other than what it was. And man, that's heavy, dude. Anyway.
That played out in public. And, our biggest focus was our kids. You want to talk about people being disappointed. who's going to be more disappointed than your kids are? And, you know, that's what we've really been focusing on. I mean, as far as her and I go, we both apologized. We apologized to our kids and, you know, trying to move forward.
Is there anything moving forward that you think you can do in terms of, I mean, you just have such a high profile position, right? Like in terms of advocacy, I mean, as you said, this is wrong, this is bad. I mean, is there anything that you think this would be a great point to start to, I don't know, a message against it, supportive domestic violence victims, anything along those lines?
Before he even answers this, I want to say this. This is whoever that journalist is. I know that guy. I know that guy's voice. They give him like the first question all the time. So whoever that is a very prominent guy in the, you know, in the PR room. But I just want to say this. It's a great question right now to Dana because it's a very tough question. So that guy who always gets the first question, I have respect for him for asking that because that is a really tough question for Dana. Because the truth of the matter is Dana hates disingenuous stuff, right? Like Dana, I am wired exactly like that too. Nothing is grosser to me than shit that's disingenuous. And a person who just hit their wife, making a big thing about advocacy against people hitting their wife is the definition of disingenuous. That is not that is like it's a thing that people whose life is a show would do and think that makes them look good. A person who actually understands what being genuine is knows you are not in a position to make a big show about your advocacy against hitting women. You are not in a position to do that. And I'm not saying that as a slam on Dana. I before he even answers, I'm going to say he's going to say no. Right? He's going to say no. And I'm very curious about how he's going to say no. And the reason I know he's going to say no is because it would be disingenuous and Dana doesn't do that shit.
Yeah. I mean, we've created a lot of awareness, you know, this was, you know, and it's not something that I'm trying to, but I've been married to this woman for 27 years. We've known each other for 40. We've been friends for 40 years. We've been married for 27 years, you know, and like I said,
damn.
Anybody who's married knows being married is, you know, it's a job. It's something you got to work at every day. Her and I have been through some shit, but we're still.
I love my motherfucking job, just for the record.
Still together. We have 3 great kids and, you know, the biggest focus for us is our family. I mean, yeah, I guess it's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think about what it's like. I don't know. I mean, there's been a lot of awareness, and you know, I haven't hid from this thing. I haven't ran from it. I've taken it head on, and from day one, you know, I don't know what else.
Great answer. It's a great fucking answer. That's a great answer. That is a great answer, because A, he's right, and B, they didn't trap him into breaking his most fundamental personality value, which is don't do shit that's disingenuous. Right? Like that's one of those things that absolutely drives me crazy, you know? A person who gets in a, you know, who's driving drunk, they crash their car, they almost killed some kid, and they're like an actor, and they're all, oh, I'm opening the you know, blah blah against drunk drivers institute. Shut the fuck up, dude. Shut the fuck up. You know what you can do? How about you just don't drive drunk again, you stupid fuck? How about you start there? How about you start with don't drive drunk again? Okay. Of all the people in the world who are going to open an institute, you're the last person that's going to do it. If you want to, if you really are serious about making up for something that you did, donate the money to an organization of victims who are going to open an institute, right? Oh, here's a group of women whose kids were killed by drunk drivers, right? And they have this idea for whatever that's going to cost $1 million. Give them the $1 million quietly and take no credit for it. Not 1 ounce of credit. Don't leak it, nothing. Give them $1 million and shut the fuck up. Don't say another fucking thing about it. Give them the money. They can have the credit. secret donor. You don't get any, you should not get any positive press from a thing that you did wrong. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, if you do something wrong, you do not deserve to get the accolades because you did XYZ related to this thing that you did wrong. Anyway, that's what I got. I knew that he wouldn't do that. I'm glad to see that I was right, that he wouldn't do that. So anyway, that is what it is. I think he handled this very, very well. Very well. So anyway, that's what I got. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Peace.